So the crisis is currently diverted, but it didn't necessarily have to be. Well, technically it was going to be anyway, because it's really a kicking down the can issue for continuing resolutions for funding the government, because we don't really balance the budget. But let's start with the narrative and then a more detailed timeline of how things happened. December, right now, 2024, Congress was facing a critical juncture with a continuing resolution, a bipartisan continuing resolution that was actually set up to keep the government going past its deadline for shutdown for December 20th. We know these things ahead of time. Every time they pass a CR, we know basically when it's going to run out. We always hit that pretty much on time. But essentially a week prior to the actual timeline of the ending of the government for, whatever period of time, there was an announcement of a bipartisan idea to make the next CR work. It would extend the government through March of 2025. So that's January, February, March, 3 months going forward. It was 1,547 pages. This one bill was worked out and actually negotiated between Democrats and Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, who's Republican. And it also had $100 billion in disaster aid, along with farm relief as well, with various other policy portions making its way, blah, 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 blah. Pork. You got that. Infrastructure projects, healthcare projects, extensions, and regulations on investments in China. This was negotiated. This was ready to go. This was going to be one of the last things Congress would vote on their way out the door, both the House and then the Senate. Then some wrinkles came up. President-elect Donald Trump actually had got some prodding, nudging, if you will, from advisor Elon Musk. And we'll get to advisor Elon Musk in detail in a bit. But Donald Trump all of a sudden didn't like the plan. He was okay with it going forward, and then realized there were things in there that he didn't like. So he rejected the plan and demanded that a new plan be put in there that also had a debt ceiling increase, or just a flat out elimination of it for a couple of years. This intervention led to turmoil in Congress, and specifically in the House, where there's a nice chunk of people who just don't vote for increases in the debt ceiling. If it's there, they won't vote for it. They've been doing it their whole congressional lives. Their people keep voting them into those spots. And so if you put something like a debt ceiling increase in there, they won't vote for it. So you have to work with the Democrats to get enough votes to make it happen. So passing the alternate version did not happen on the Thursday night before the deadline. The CR failed. The Trump-backed plan does not happen to increase the debt ceiling, which would mean that essentially if they increase the debt ceiling, Donald Trump can raise anything he wants to. He can pay for anything he wants to, and put in tax cut to eliminate some of the money that the government gets, and not have to worry about paying it back to make up for the money that's being spent. He can spend what he wants to with an open checkbook, and basically he can borrow whatever he wants to. That's what it means. If it doesn't make it happen, if the CR doesn't sign, that means the government shuts down. They can't pay any bills. These are all bills that are already set to be paid. We just need to accomplish getting another lot of credit to pay them, which is really bad governance anyway. But a shutdown means some people don't get paid. Some people don't get stuff. Some places will shut down until they actually work this thing out. So a stopgap bill was created. This one led to a passing of a CR, not so late in yesterday before it happened, and not so late when the Senate basically signed off on it and everybody can go home for Christmas. That did what it needed to do to push the disaster back. It funds the government for a few months. It does not get rid of the debt ceiling, and also doesn't do a couple other things that kind of needed to be done now, but it was things that enough people could vote for. In the House, the only people that voted against it were 32 Republicans. And these are Republicans that don't vote for any sort of fiscal irresponsible thing at all. They see this as kicking down the can. They want to fight this thing right now, and they'll die on that hill. 32 folks in the House voted against it. They were all Republicans. Remember, Republicans hold the majority, so if they all vote for it, it passes. They have to work with Democrats to get it to pass, and all the Democrats went for pass for it. It got signed into law after the Senate resolved it late last night, and this today on the 21st. So while technically the government would have shut down at midnight, because everything was in place, it didn't shut down. No one's not getting paid. It's all good. It may be the last effort done by Mr. Joe Biden as president, since he's basically disappeared and was not even in this fight going forward. But it is what we have. I'm going to give you the timeline as we have it to kind of say how things worked out, a little bit more distinct and less rambly, if you will. Starting off on the 17th of December, where congressional leaders unveiled the bipartisan CR to extend the government funding through March 17th. This includes $1 billion in disaster aid and farm relief, along with various policy provisions. December 17th, this is, as you can see, a week before the government would be shutting down. Well, a week before the government would be shutting down. On the 18th, President-elect Donald Trump, influenced by advisor Elon Musk, rejected the bipartisan plan. Here, he insisted on the inclusion of the debt ceiling increase, and the demand created turmoil in Congress as lawmakers scrambled to negotiate and renegotiate new terms of the funding deal. The deal that was set to be put in place, Trump said he didn't like it last minute. Biden said nothing because it seemed like it was working and did not get into the fight. But Trump said he didn't like it and wanted Republicans, in a test of loyalty, to do what he wanted. 19th happens. They vote on it. It doesn't pass. Or they vote on the new resolution. The first resolution doesn't go to the floor because Trump wanted something different. So under that pressure from Trump and Musk, who basically brought it up with a lot of facts to put this into play that were really flat out lies and just innuendo and just basic information. They weren't going to give themselves a 4% pay increase that wasn't even there. However, it failed. The House failed it completely because what they agreed to was not what they agreed to. So Democrats basically tanked it because they had to go along with it. And the House Republicans, who never vote for additions to continuing resolutions that have in it cuts to debt ceilings, as expected, all voted against it. They say they're nice with Trump, but they're not going to vote for this because it's fiscally irresponsible. That happened. One more shot, one more day before the shutdown, and Congress gets its act together. There's a deal that goes back and forth. Mike Johnson works with the Democrats again to get something that's going to work. It also does not add in the killing or the suspending of the debt ceiling at all. This is something, the debt ceiling is a whole nother video to talk about how it is arcane and useless and no one else uses it. Just like the Electoral College, we're not getting rid of that tomorrow, and we're not getting rid of debt ceiling tomorrow either. But the new CR gets put together. It's out there. The only people that voted against it are the 32 House Republicans who don't vote against anything that they see as fiscally irresponsible, which this one in their eyes is. But this is a stopgap measure that pushes the can back to March. It does not kill the debt limit, so looks like Donald Trump still has to deal with how to pay for his tax cuts and his increase in spending going forward because they have to balance or it's fiscal irresponsibility. The Republicans will vote for his stuff, but not to quite pay for it properly. That's how things work out. This afternoon, President Joe Biden actually signed the CR into law, which basically averted the government shutdown and ensured that everybody continues to get paid. All operations are good and fine, and there will be inauguration. I think Trump didn't understand that if the shutdown happens, the people that work on his inauguration don't get paid and technically can't go to work. I don't think he understood that or just he didn't care, or he just thought that the Republicans were going to do what he said and make it work, and obviously it didn't. This shows a couple of things. Number one, that governing is actually hard. Donald Trump may have done it for 4 years prior, but he may have to get his feet back into kind of position, get on the bike and try it a few times to realize that some things just don't happen magically. And just because you have the numbers doesn't mean you have the votes. The second thing is influence. There are two things influence. First influence is Donald Trump's actual influence, which goes along with the first thing. Donald Trump is doing a lot of things, including pushing people into his cabinet and advisors roles that many people think shouldn't be there, and making committees like the Deutsche Committee with Musk and Ramaswamy, which has no power, but can tell people what they should do, and Trump kind of wants them to do what they say. Trump's influence on the Republican Party is massive. You can now see that the party of Reagan disappeared literally in a poof of smoke when Donald Trump basically became the president and he took over everything. The MAGA world is the MAGA world. And if you weren't expecting this to happen, if you see a lot of similarities to things in the past, which I have seen, which is odd to me, seeing things that my parents saw in the 60s that are similar things right now in 2024, it's amazing to me. It's not so amazing to people who don't want to see it. But the influence of Donald Trump, one man over a particular group of people who are supposed to be independent-minded and are there to put checks onto him doing just what he wants to do, is incredible. Even more incredible. The power and the reach of, as Democrats say, President Elon Musk, the unelected president of the United States, who is a part of a unelected committee with no power, has over to Donald Trump. He spent a lot of money on his campaign, so he has some loyalty to that one. He gave him a cushy job to just say, hey, go fix the government, and he can try to do that. Can't really do much. He can tell people what to do. We'll see what goes along with that. But it really was a smattering of tweets and responses from Elon Musk that seemed to be the catalyst to spark off Donald Trump doing this thing come Monday, the day they're expected to basically package this thing for the floor to get it done, to push it off till March. There's a lot of things that could have happened, including a government shutdown, which, if happening on Biden's watch, would make Biden look bad. No, it'd make Republicans look bad because they had something already in place. And the killing of the debt ceiling, which would have technically been on Biden's watch, but would have taken the Republican people in Congress, House and Senate, to make it happen and make Donald Trump look good in the future and make things easier for him to do going forward. It's the topsy-turvy world we live in, where a guy who's a billionaire and not American-born citizen, if that makes a difference, is seemingly pushing the buttons for all of us and maybe the strings, holding the strings of the puppet and the puppet master to Donald Trump, because this didn't seem like it was a big deal till Trump heard it from Musk. Now, we keep hearing rumors that Musk is sort of all over the place and all inside of Trump's grill every place, and that eventually, because Trump has the ego, he's going to get tired of him, overshadow him, and doing whatever. Think about Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon sort of tried to play this sort of role of just whispering in Trump's ear and getting things happening, and then Bannon will take a little extra credit for it, and Trump exiled him for a little bit. Everyone who's topped up in them to try to play a role in Trump's organization and wanted to do good for Trump using his name and his image, but then got a little bit higher than he did in Icarus, too far close to the sun, even though the sun actually wasn't the sun, it was actually Donald Trump. They fell into poor graces. Elon Musk, as Trump's not quite president for about 30 days, has not reached that point yet and is still spouting off lots of things that Trump seems to love and wants us to do. So what will we do with this? Well, we have months to deal with our next government shutdown, and they won't shut it down. They'll find a way to fix it, because I think they realize that shutdowns are bad, and when they do happen, last one happened under Donald Trump, they still get blamed for it. But the big thing we're going to find out is how Congress is actually going to roll with Donald Trump basically rolling over for anything he's asking for, how the majority they have in the House and the Senate, although very, 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 very tiny, how is actually going to make a deal going forward, and how much they have to actually deal with Democrats and help them, get help from them to come over and help, not just generically, but because, it actually is mortal danger to fight for them, fight with them, if you will. How much sway Ramaswamy and Musk, guys like them, will actually have? The actual stories we got behind the scenes was Sunday into Monday into Tuesday, Musk and Ramaswamy and Johnson had long text exchanges and phone calls on trying to fix this. Musk and Ramaswamy and Johnson. No Joe Biden, because he's checked out. No Donald Trump, because Musk and Ramaswamy can handle it for him. Musk and Ramaswamy with the Speaker of the House. Also in play, there's also rumors that they may make President Musk, since he's technically not president, the Speaker of the House. Since basically we learned from when Kevin McCarthy got kicked out, anybody you want to be can be Speaker of the House. Any dude on the street can be Speaker of the House. They just need to vote for him. Well, how will this happen? How will this matter for the work he's not doing, Elon Musk, at his actual companies that he heads up that makes him a billionaire? SpaceX and Tesla and those things like that. Because some of the investors and shareholders are wondering how he's going to keep up that work when he's doing this other work. That's a lot to throw at you for this Saturday kind of bomb here. So maybe you're not seeing this till Sunday or Monday, but it still will be a story because they'll still talk about it. What do you think about the whole shebang that was our debt ceiling crisis for about 2.5 days? Actually, it's for about a week, because Monday, all of a sudden, it was an issue. It was an issue until Monday, and then it took till Friday to resolve it. What do you think about that? What do you think about Trump and his power and hold, pulling the strings of Congress? What do you think about the notion that Elon Musk is pulling the strings of Donald Trump? I know you're going to say you hate that statement. I know my listeners. I know my followers. I know you guys. You're going to slam me for that one. Feel free. Comment in the videos. Comment in the emails. Through the conversation inbox, gmail.com. Let me know what you think about this. Crisis averted for now, as they always are. But what crisis is, ISIS, and cans of worms were open in the process.